Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Beyond the Business. This is a mini episode, and today I want to talk about something most of us never see, never think about, and yet depend on every single day. It's not on land, it's not in the ocean, it's above us, orbit, and what we have turned it into. When the first satellites were launched into space, orbit felt empty and clean, a silent layer around the planet, used sparingly for science, exploration, and a few early communication signals. So no one talked about limits back then, and no one talked about waste. Because space felt weightless, and is definitely not empty anymore. Today, there are more than 10,000 active satellites circling Earth, and alongside them, over 130 million pieces of debris, fragments of old satellites, broken rocket stages, paint chips, metal shards. Most of them travel at 28,000 kilometers per hour. At that speed, even a bolt can push through a steel. Even a paint flake can destroy a satellite. And here's the uncomfortable part. Almost none of this debris is regulated in any meaningful, enforceable way. Space has become the ultimate externality. Every launch adds value, every collision leaves trash. And no one is responsible for cleaning it up. This isn't science fiction, it's already happening. In 2009, two satellites collided over Siberia. One was active, one was dead. The result was more than 2,000 new debris fragments still orbiting today. That collision wasn't an accident in the traditional sense. It was a system failure, too many objects, too little coordination, no real accountability, and the risk compounds. There is a term scientists use, Kessler syndrome. It describes a chain reaction where debris collisions create more debris, which creates more collisions until entire orbital zones become unusable. Not damaged, unusable. And if that happens, we don't just lose satellites, we lose GPS, weather forecasting, global communications, lose parts of financial systems, shipping coordination, emergency response. Modern civilization quietly depends on orbit, and an orbit is quietly filling up with junk. Launching satellites is cheap now. Private constellations deploy hundreds at a time, thousands. If one fails, it's cheaper to replace it than deorbit it responsibly. And if it breaks apart, the cost is socialized. This is waste economics, lifted off the planet. On Earth, at least in theory, waste has borders, landfills, regulations, environmental impact assessments. In orbit, none of that really exists. Debris does not belong to anyone, but the risk belongs to everyone. And here is the paradox. We talk endlessly about sustainability on Earth, circular economy, life cycle assessments, extended producer responsibility. Yet in space, we have built the most linear system imaginable. Launch, use, abandon, no recycling, no retrieval, no cleanup at scale. It's not because solution doesn't exist. There are concepts, harpoons, nets, laser nudging, robotic capture, but none of them are economically attractive under current rules. Because cleaning orbit does not generate profit. It only prevents catastrophe. And prevention, as always, is undervalued. This is where responsibility becomes blurry. It is that the launching state, the private company, the insurer, the operator who no longer exists. International space law was written in an era when space was sparse. It was never designed for industrial scale congestion. So we are repeating a familiar pattern. We exploit a system faster than our governance can adapt. We extract value, we defer consequences. Only this time the landfill is above our heads. Orbit is becoming heavy, not with mass, with risk. And unlike land or water, we can't just relocate the damage somewhere else. If we lose orbit, we don't get a second chance. Thank you for listening. Space may look empty from the ground, but it's carrying more of our waste than we are willing to admit. And just like on Earth, the question is no longer whether this is sustainable, but how long we can pretend it is. See you in the next episode of Beyond the Business.